So welcome to Rise. I think some of you are pretty familiar with the group, but we're always welcome to have new people. So tonight we got something a little different than our typical kind of run-of-the-mill, learn how to hack stuff, learn how to cheat things. We've got a InfoSec Journey, and the reason why I asked that Ken speak tonight, we were talking about this some time ago, and Ken is the type of guy that his story is really unique in a very, in kind of a unique situation. I don't want to steal a lot of his thunder here, but what appealed to me was the fact that hopefully what you hear throughout his story is that while he did have help along the way, he was never really given a handout. It was a lot of personal butt kicking that got him to the place where he's at. And it's kind of in my opinion, it's somewhat inspirational in how he was able to kind of take the situations that were given to him, take advantage of those, and keep progressing along. So it meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to the other guys that run Rise, that we felt like this is a great story, and we really wanted for other people to hear it, because we often get asked as professionals in the industry, what does it take to become an InfoSec professional? What kind of steps do you take? And I think Ken's journey kind of demonstrates some of those steps, and he's on the right track to really getting to the place that he wants to be. So with that being said, thank you very much, Ken, for being here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Nevers.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'll try not to suck too bad and try to entertain you a little bit, hopefully. Let's see. Yes, sir. Okay. Contrary to what my wife might say, I really don't like to talk about myself all that much, but I figured I would share this with you guys. This is a little bit of my story, and let's see how do I do the slideshow here. Here we go. All right, and there we go. These were some of the titles that I had. My InfoSec Journey, right? Other possible titles were DOC to OSCP, Heroin to Hero, my personal favorite, POS to Proof of Concept, Crack and Hash to Crack and Hashes, from self-ponage to total ownage, and drugs are bad, okay. Pretty much just the talk. Who am I and why should you care? I guess I'll stand here like Rob told me to. My name's Ken. That's my handle. First and foremost, I'm a Christian. I'm a sinner.
Actually, ignore what I said, because you can't see it.
Okay. Sorry. All right. I'm a Christian, saved by grace. A husband to that beautiful woman right there, who's been by my side the entire time and shouldn't be still from all the things that I put her through. I'm a life changer, a 180-degree turner in life, I think. I'm a small business owner now. I'm aspiring to be a pen tester, and hopefully I can share something that you might inspire you, as Rob was saying, or teach you a little bit about something. So, basically, I made a bunch of bad decisions in life. In 2007, that was the start. It was the culmination of a lot of bad decisions, one of which was start trying opiates, try and do. I dropped out of college. I left Virginia Tech, decided to move to Colorado. Just basically gave up on a lot of things, became a deadbeat, and you get the Temple of Doom reference there. That's kind of what that's from. So I made some poor decisions. And ultimately, it led to 15 years of heroin addiction, about 40 months in prison, all said and done, and a lot of life experience, though, I will say that. But then I got out, right? And I had to make a decision in my life. I had to There's the proverbial fork in the road, right? It's sort of Roanoke City jail green and prison doors color as well. There's a lot of aluminum there if you've ever been. So I had to make a decision in life, and it was either keep doing what I'd always done and always get what I've always gotten, or try and do something different with my life. Here's a quote. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. I tried to figure out who that quote's attributed to, and nobody can agree on who said it. And the internet's always right? So they say it in Narcotics Anonymous too. So nothing changes, right? That's true stuff. So let's see, we got some important setup to do this change and to implement these in my life. I decided to try something different this time. I went to an Oxford house, which if you're not familiar with is a sober living men's house. We're not a treatment center, but we are a group of, they're men and women, it's a national organization, and it's basically a fraternity or sorority house without all the craziness. There's no drugs or alcohol. There's a little bit of accountability there, but it's communal living, and everybody's just trying to do something different with their life. So there's common unity there and, accountability. I did an intensive outpatient treatment program when I got out of jail. It was through Blue Ridge Behavioral Health Care, and it was called the Alpha Program Aftercare, and it was a drug treatment program that I went to every night on Tuesdays for 12 weeks, I believe, and that was another thing that kept me accountable. I didn't have to do any of this. Probation didn't make me do any of this. I did it all on my own because I felt like I deserved more in my life, honestly. I started attending Celebrate Recovery and Narcotics Anonymous. And then I went to the CIT program at Goodwill. I'll get into more of that later. Get my A+ and Net Plus certification studies going. So I'll start here. Oxford House, right? So I didn't come from much of a tech background other than being a nerd my whole life. But this was my crash course in networking. You really learn how to manage that network when you have, 9 guys trying to stream 5K porno at all times. And I was pretty much the network admin there to try and make everything work, which was cool because it taught me a lot of things. I started playing with Python there because I was curious. There's Fedora, Linux, I just started playing with all this stuff. I set up a touch screen because I noticed that a lot of people in the Oxford house that were trying to get jobs and, do things, they could do stuff on their phone, but they couldn't quite, navigate a computer. So I set up a nice little touch screen that they could apply to jobs on. Also set up a file share network for the house because to streamline all the paperwork that we have to do because everybody there holds an office. So there's like accounting and there's, a comptroller, they call it, a chore coordinator and all this stuff. And we have a weekly meeting. And, there's got to be accountability there because you got, 9 drug addicts and you don't want, recovering drug addicts. You don't want cash just lying around. So I streamlined that process and I created a file share and some Excel forms and played around with that in order to streamline that and make it easier for the next guy. So the meetings that took forever ended up taking less time because there was no math. The formulas were all there. And then I also got to play with the Wi-Fi and learn some hacking tools with that. I cracked our password, which is pretty easy. Forget that, please. So let's see here. Then I went to the Goodwill Industries. The reason I went there, I couldn't find a job, right? I was unhireable. I couldn't really exist in society. I figured at least I could, while I'm hunting for something, I could go to Goodwill and hang up T-shirts or work in, the donation stuff, or sit at one of those shacks where they get donations, or all this preconceived notions that I had of Goodwill and what they do. So I was waiting in the lobby down there at the Melrose Jobs Campus to talk to somebody about hopefully getting on as a clerk there, and I saw this flyer. This was the first one that I saw, and it was a prisoner reentry program, and they offered training for various fields to try and get people stuff to be more employable and more successful, give them a hand, a hand up, not just a hand out. And I saw this side, and I knew IT was something I always played with. I was always the go-to guy to fix things, so I figured I might as well give it a shot. Because I knew there was a skills gap in the industry. So I assumed that if I could get these skills that nobody else had, employers would be forced to overlook that, because they didn't have a choice, right? They couldn't find anybody that was capable of doing these sort of things. So I figured I would go ahead and jump into that, because what else do I got to lose, right? So I canned the whole trying to get a job through them and enrolled in this program right here, which was the Careers in Technology program. And it was a coursework. It was a course to prep you to get your A+ certification, your Google IT support certificate, basically go from, nothing to something, and then leave that program after, 12 weeks, I believe. Usually 12 weeks. Leave that program as an employable person, with the skills that most people don't have and the certifications that you need in order to get into the industry. $45,000 a year, was kind of the ballpark of what I was thinking I might be able to make getting out. And that seemed wonderful to me as a person coming from a deficit in skills, job, employability, all that. Like, I was always kind of intelligent, but I never finished anything. I didn't graduate from college at that point. And I didn't want to sell myself short. I knew I was capable of more things in life, so I figured that I could at least offer something in the IT field, right? Provide value to the world as it were. So I completed that program. I accomplished something. That was huge for me, right? I actually got my A+, and I got a certificate, and my parents finally got to come to this graduation ceremony and see me complete something, right? And I spoke at that, and it empowered me, right? Not only was I had the option to, take this out there somewhere and get a job perhaps, but it gave me a sense of accomplishment, right? And before I had a chance to take this out into the job, it kind of springboarded into something else for me. And that was Goodwill offered me an internship there, right? So, yeah, I jumped all over that. They gave me a desk and everything, I was like, I was a real member of society. I had a placard on the door, and people looked to me for solutions. So they offered me this internship, and that was great. And, some of those people are in this room today, that offered that challenge for me and gave me that opportunity. So they offered me this internship, right? And then who am I? But it was an opportunity to pay my dues and do some stuff that they didn't want to do, right? So, I did all this networking stuff, right? And I did a lot of busy work until I was able to prove myself that I wasn't just, somebody out of their program getting fed into in an internship, somebody that might provide value to them as well. And I took it very seriously and put my, everything into that. And it was very, very rewarding. You know, I actually got to do some things. These are some of the things I was proud of. I got, you know, to turn the cable mess into relabeled nice stuff and packaged stuff. And I try to just do everything a little bit, you know, to the best of my ability. You know, do everything that I could. I was wondering if anybody was noticing this hard work, and I didn't care if they were or not, because I was learning all kinds of things. I knew I was building my resume. I was making contacts. I was making friends. I was learning valuable skills, whether anybody noticed or not, and they certainly noticed. That 3-month internship at Goodwill turned into over a year, right? Goodwill is much more than secondhand T-shirts, beat up furniture, and serial killer trinkets, which is what I thought it was when I first walked in there, right? It's a big place, and I was able to parlay that, you know, busy work guy into help desk, into support specialist, into doing some networking stuff, and then by the end of it, I was, you know, I had admin credentials, and I was able to be in our actual cybersecurity thing, portal, and I was doing phishing campaigns and all kinds of stuff because they knew I wanted to go with security eventually, and they were 100% supportive of that, and it was awesome. Along that journey, Mike actually is a teacher here, but he also teaches at the Goodwill program, Mike Donadeo, and he actually taught the night class for the CIT program that I was in. So when we came here to actually take the exam, the A+ certification, I got this wild hair to go back to school. Why not? You know, I'm doing this internship. I finished that. I'm capable of doing something, right? So let's go get a degree too while I'm at it. So I enrolled in night school here because of CIT and because of Goodwill, honestly. And I'm graduating in spring. I've made the dean's list the whole time I've been here. You know, thanks, man, thanks. And cyber and network security. CPI has been pretty great, you know. Here's some networking stuff we had to do. Just some screenshots. My eCPI plug here. I learned a whole lot. We built the whole mock network out with actual hardware here, which definitely helped me going forward. I learned a whole lot from a lot of very intelligent people that you have here at your fine institution. So I was doing all this nice cabling and stuff, but this is what my house looked like. That's my Ethernet cable. That's my cable management right there. But it's important to keep a work and a life balance. And I was going so hard with this new stuff. I was almost like substituting one addiction for another, and it was like overachieving and doing everything possible. So, you know, I mentioned earlier the Celebrate Recovery of the Narcotics Anonymous. That was kind of my other world besides this IT and school world that I was in. And if you're not familiar with CR, it's a 12-step program, but it's Christ-centered. So it allowed me to, you know, use my newfound faith in Jesus and, you know, address these issues. And I really liked it because it wasn't just drug addicts. It was people or alcoholics per se. It was people that were all just trying to get better in life, right? And that's what I was doing in a nutshell. You know, once I had put that negativity out of my life, I now had to fill it with positive things and new friends and new acquaintances, right? So I started making friends with these people, and this was like my go-to social group, right? And everybody was just trying to do the next right thing, you know, whether they had a sexual compulsion or a gambling issue or drugs and alcohol or codependency, or, you know, everybody's suffering from something out there. And this was a nice thing for me to get involved with, to try and suffer together with these people and triumph over it, right? And everybody was supportive of my story. And I joined a men's step study group. I found this newfound group of friends one of which was actually, ironically, a police officer, and and I became friends with a cop. You know, like that was the last thing that I thought, you know, this ex-con would be friends with, right? But through this program, and you know, it's gotten great. And all this stuff, I was going to school at night. I was going to Goodwill every day for my internship. I was riding the bus. I was riding a bike. I was doing whatever it took to get to where I needed to be. And these men in this step study group that I'm still really close with surprised me with a car. Like they were so happy with the way I was, you know, was focusing my life and all the things that God and everybody, you know, myself was doing in my life, that they wanted me to keep going, right? So they got me a vehicle, and that was just amazing because, you know, 3 years prior to that, I couldn't even bum a ride off somebody, and now I got people giving me a vehicle. You know, it was surreal, but it was like more validation that, hey, I'm doing the right thing. So along that time, I joined the RISE group here, where now I'm talking at, and I remember coming to the first couple meetings and talking to Rob and saying, kind of, hey, I'm new to this. How did you get here? I just started asking questions to people. You know, I got that, you know, what did you do? What, you know, to get to where you're at? And I just started asking people kind of personal questions because I didn't really know any of the technical stuff at that point. I couldn't talk to you about some of the things I can talk about now, but at that point I knew I had a passion for this stuff, and, you know, people were sharing with me their story and how they got to where they did. And a lot of them had done the same thing that I was doing, and switched careers completely, you know, when they realized they didn't want to sit, you know, in a non-technical, behind a desk, you know, or maybe they wanted to sit behind a desk, but in a different capacity, but whatever, you know. So there was a lot of similarities there, and there was a whole, it was a comfortable group to be around. I felt like I finally belonged somewhere with like intelligent goof-offs, I guess you could say, you know, like the tech community is kind of like that, right? We're all quirky, we're all weird, but we're all pretty intelligent, and we're all, you know, trying to do good stuff. And yeah, so here's my RISE spiel. You know, analog networking, they called it, right? It was like real networking, meeting people in the community. But you know, I put this on the slide because this was a meeting that it was at Carillion, and I rode my bike all the way to get to this thing. And you know, I was there. The other Rob, I think his name. Yeah, he was giving away prizes at the end. You know, and it was on cryptocurrency, blockchain technology. That seemed cool to me, so I wanted to go. And I committed to going to these things. So I rode my bike all the way across Roanoke to go to this meeting, and then I won for the longest commute, right? And I didn't technically have the longest commute, but I had the longest to get to where I was going because I was on a bike, right? And so they gave me some stuff. But anyway, I just put that there because, you know, I was committed to this, and I did what it was necessary, be it riding the bus 2 hours round trip every day to get to where I needed to for my internship, or riding a bicycle to get, because the bus wouldn't run out there, you know, that kind of stuff, you know. I made it happen because it's what I wanted to have, right? So one of the things that somebody told me was get a mentor. That was some of the things that I learned here at RIDE. And I remember going to one of those ones that I had ridden my bike to, downtown, and I see this guy pull up in a BMW with his full leather thing on his hat. I'm like, well, who the hell is this dude? You know, he has his backpack on, and it was I met this guy, Chris, and instantly I just kind of connected with the dude. It seemed like he had that whole hacker mystique to him, you know, that cool, what I wanted to be, you know, it was this guy to me, you know, like if you've seen the movie, you've seen the movie. I trust most people have seen that movie, so I'm not going to talk about it. So I started doing a little research on this guy after talking to him because he said that he was, you know, he knew about the OSCP, he worked for a really good company and seemed really intelligent, and I asked him what I needed to do. But before I did that, I did a little research on him and found, he was the author of an actual Kali Linux tool, and it was legit, right? So I was wanting to talk to this guy, right? Because I knew I wanted to get into security eventually. So, I was like, I asked him if he would teach me how to hack, right? Which is not what you want to ask somebody, honestly. So, but he said there'd be a chance. So I got a mentor, and I asked him to help me. And I'm going to bring Chris up here now, if he doesn't mind. Oh, yeah, man. So, introduce yourself.
I'm Chris Rose. I'm a penetration tester for TrustedSec. Or security consultant, I should say.
Yeah. He's a ninja is what he is. And, anyways, I asked him what to do, right? What do I need to do? And he gave me this list of things to do. And he's a very busy guy. And he's not just going to hand me the keys to the kingdom, because how many people ask him, teach me how to hack. Can you hack my Google account or Gmail or Facebook or whatever? We get all these dumb questions, right? So he gave me a list of things to do. So I did them, right? He said install Gentoo Linux, right? And if you've never done that, this sums it up. It was incredibly challenging, and it was his Mr. Miyagi test, basically, to see if I was worthy of his time, because it was sort of my wax on, wax off thing, because we essentially build an operating system from scratch, and it's Linux, right? So those were two things that I'd really never done, and I hadn't ever. I'd used to been. Usually I could manipulate somebody into telling me what I wanted, just from being in some of the places and doing some of the things that I'd done in my past, but he wasn't giving it up, I had to earn it. And so that set me on this wonderful journey of nightmare compiling over and over and over again on really old hardware that just didn't want to work, and kept crashing and wouldn't work at all. There we go. And at one point, I was telling my wife about this. I went to 7-Eleven and bought a bag of ice because my CPU kept overheating and steam was coming out of the thing when I was trying to compile this stuff for hours at a time to compile my kernel. So I had this laptop sitting on a bag of frozen ice, compiling overnight on my desk, and I wake up and everything was ruined because it melted all the ice onto my stand to the desk, and I had all these papers and stuff everywhere, and I ruined another computer in the process too because the water ran into it. It was a funny story, but it was hard. So yeah. So you want to touch on any of this?
Basically, Ken worked for everything he's accomplished. I didn't really teach him, per se, anything. All I did was when he had a question or he got stumped or something like that, I tried to point him in the right direction.
Yeah, which leads to this slide. No, you didn't.
To an extent. You don't ask for the answer. Like, you're not going to get the answer from me. I won't give it to you. You're gonna work for it. You're going to search for it, just like I did. I'm completely self-taught. I was 6. I watched the internet happen. Archie, Mosaic, Netscape, all that stuff at school, Oregon Trail, all that fun jazz too. So,
Off the wagon.
yeah, back when it was all or nothing but basic. Great. But you don't ask for the answer, because then I know you're not willing to work for it. I mean, you're not going to go out there and search for it. You're just going to get the answer and move on to the next thing. That's it. You're not going to learn anything. So I don't give it to you. I just try to put you where you need to search. Pretty much. Pretty much it. And then, yeah, but my big thing was I had Ken do a stage 1 Gen 2, which is creating an operating system from scratch. And when you boot up your operating system, you're still a command prompt. There's no desktop, nothing. So he did that. He brought his laptop to me. I went over it. I made him connect to his wireless over command line and use it, connecting and putting a WPA2 hash in and all that, connecting over command line, which is not easy for a lot of people. He did it. Then I made him bring me his laptop and prove it to him. So I went over that and I said, all right, we'll go home and take it to a stage 2. So he takes a stage 1 to a stage 2, and now he has a desktop. So he gets this done like 3 weeks later.
So happy. I was so excited.
And he brings it to me, and I'm like, all right, well, man, it's great. You got it all done, but this is a vanilla plain desktop, and it's not really Gen 2. Gen 2 is 100% custom. You set the flags in the processor. You do everything completely custom, and it wasn't really Gen 2 to me. So I said, go back and make it yours. And he came back about 2 weeks later with one of the prettiest Gen 2 desktops I'd ever seen. So, like, he had everything customized, everything on the processor was done, like, the whole machine was done correctly. So at that point in time, I said, okay, now I'll talk to you about security stuff. And then the Goodwill was going to get him to do CEH or something, and I didn't really care. I'm not going to say anything about cert, of course. I just know a little bit more about the OffSec certs because I've been enrolled in one for a long time. And instead of the CEH was more expensive, and I told Ken, I'm like, well, why don't you see if you can, take this one instead, and you'll save him some money, and you'll actually learn something in the process. It's a lot harder. And he got him to do it, so he got enrolled in that. And also, through some people I know, I got him onto the DerbyCon security staff team for last year, DerbyCon this year. Yeah. So, because I work for Trusted Sec, I work for Dave Kennedy, the guy sitting next to him, who owns Trusted Sec and Binary Defense, both cybersecurity people. So one's on the defensive side for air detection and response, and the other one is on the offensive side doing every range of anything offensive security. But I got him on SEC team, and he got to meet some of the biggest people in the industry because of that, and network, and talk to a bunch of people that you normally don't get to talk to because it's pretty hard to get a ticket at that conference. And now that I've been last month. Yeah, they do have a DerbyCon community.
Yes, they do. I remember he kept saying, you should come to DerbyCon, you should come to DerbyCon. And yeah, the thing sold out in 12 seconds or something. I was like, what is this freaking Beatles concert? I didn't know, but I'm glad I went because it was super cool. I learned so much, and I learned that I could be around a whole bunch of people like me, that know a whole lot more than me, but we're very welcome. And, yeah, it was super cool. And so go to conferences, man. Go to anything. I'm excited for the B-Sides thing. I went to RBA Sec out in Richmond. I went to a cybersecurity conference. That was more of a sales pitch one that Goodwill sent me to, but that was pretty good too. But yeah, go to conferences, network with people. You'll appreciate it. That,
go up to somebody at a table doing something, they show me something.
Yeah.
Ask them something or teach you something. And they'll do it. They'll welcome you.
They will.
You'll get to go and learn stuff that you never would anywhere else. A lot of the stuff you learn, a lot of the stuff that Ken has learned over the past 6 months, you won't learn. They're not going to teach you how to teach yourself. They're not going to teach you how to Google everything you see. Look at her, this or that.
Or about thick locks. That was pretty cool.
He's taught himself that over the past 6 months. Work for it, and you get good results. So that's what he learned.
So he told me to do a couple other things other than be networking. Pay it forward. Twitter's not just for Donald Trump. Get a Twitter account. Get an InfoSec Twitter account. You learn a lot of stuff there. I don't even look at the news anymore. All my stuff is security focused pretty much. I enrolled in the virtual hacking lab, which was great. completed that, got that certification. If you're not familiar with it, it's a subscription-based penetration testing platform, basically, of vulnerable machines. Awesome. You can sign up for a week, monthly, 6 months, or a year. And in order to get the certification, you have to root 20 machines and also write a report on how you did it, the screenshots and stuff. So I was really proud of myself for getting that got done. I learned a whole lot in preps of trying to get to my OSCP certification. Another thing he told me to do that I did, I was just open to everybody's suggestions that I was looking up to and admired, be it school, professional, into church, anybody doing something that I wanted to emulate, I was taking suggestions. I was being open-minded and doing things I didn't really want to do at first. Said get on Hack the Box, which we touched on here. It's awesome, really fun. You learn all kinds of new techniques. I built my own home lab, thanks to Matt Thompson right there at Goodwill. He gave me some old junky laptops that they were going to donate. He let me have them, and I got to play around with them, and I built a network at home to practice some of this stuff on with. Vault Hub's another resource. You download vulnerable machines to keep yourself out of jail. You can't penetrate. You can't test the network you don't have permission for.
Always practice.
Yeah, there's a difference between black hat and white hat and a permission slip, essentially. So this is my new goal, my new target. I want to get my OSCP, my Offensive Security Certified Professional Exam certification, which is really, really hard. Really hard. OffSec's whole slogan is try harder, right? Which is kind of what he did to me in the first place with the, do it again, but better. Do it again, but better. We're not going to tell you the answers. Figure it out yourself. You'll learn more hands-on. It's not a memorization cert, right? It's not, I can study a couple books and watch some Mike Myers videos and then go in and pass it. You have to actually know how to do it and actually do it. Some people have enrolled in that course as well, can tell you about it. It's a big deal. That's my whiteboard at home of the lab network that I had to draw up on all these hosts that I had to attack. And they dump you in this network of 150 hosts and 3 different subnets. You have to learn how to pivot and tunnel and exploit everything from Windows 10 down to like BSD machines and firewalls. I think smart TV, I think is what they on. But you have to learn. You do it hands-on, which is awesome, and it's challenging and it's a struggle. But that aha moment when the light bulb turns on, you figured out how to break something or how to break into something, or thought of a creative way to get to the same final destination that you wanted to get to, is a great feeling, and that sort of parallels everything I had done. I set a goal. How am I going to meander my way to get to that goal? And, like there's screenshots, that's just my cherry tree notes, a little bit of it, I'm learning all kinds of stuff. It hurts my head, and I start talking to my wife about it, and her eyes instantly glass over, and she's like, I don't care, Linux, right? But I'm really passionate about this stuff, and that was one of the things that Rob told me. He said, be excited, be passionate, He's like, ask questions, play with things, break things, do things if that's what you're passionate about, and it won't be work, and it really isn't. Like, this is like my hobby. My wife wakes up at 3 a.m. to me screaming in exclamation of joy or upsetness a lot. And, and then she'd be, you pwned it, honey? I'm like, yeah, I pwned it, baby. Go back to sleep, and that's sort of my life. I traded one addiction for another, but this one's at least healthy, right? You know, I learned some buffer overflow. Yeah. And I'm sure it does. You know, learning buffer overflows, learn how to write my own exploit code, all this cool stuff that you can't really learn anywhere else. I can't recommend that course highly enough. It's so cool. There's 4 machines in there that are notorious if you research the OSCP. And they're called Pain, Humble, Sufferance, and Ghost. And they're called those machines because they put you through all those emotions. They're like really, really challenging. People don't get them. And I'm proud to say that as of last night, I read all 4 of them. And that made me feel really accomplished because there's people that, you know, do this job professionally or, you know, have been in the industry for years and can't figure out how to get system on those machines. I was pretty proud of myself for that. And I don't know where Stallone, that if anybody could tell me what movie that's from, I would love, I'll give you a bonus point on the prizes that I'm awarding at the end. And pay attention. So, you know, what now? I did face some setbacks. I'm not going to lie. There were a couple, I'm not going to say exactly who they were, but there were 2 separate companies that brought me through the hiring phase all the way to job offer to, at one point I quit my internship to go take this job offer, only to find out that corporate said we can't hire you based on your felony record, no matter how old it is. And that hurt. I'm not going to lie. That stung, you know, that people couldn't look past all the, you know, they couldn't see the change in it, you know. But locally, the people had. The people that mattered most to me, the ones that I saw on a daily basis that knew who I was, they could see the change. And the people that didn't know the old Ken prior to all this journey, they wouldn't know me at all from that old person. All the new relationships I've made are completely different now. They're genuine. I don't, you know, it's awesome. That whole one of, you know, Chris alluded to it, but one of the most important things that he told me was, you know, pay it forward. Don't be a douche, you know, like, you know, like people, there's so much negativity in the world that people don't want to hear about that, you know, don't, and that transcends it, not just work, but everything, right? So because of that, I said, you know what, I'm going to start my own company, right? You don't want to hire me? Oh, well, I'll be my own boss, right? And I'll hire whoever I want, and I'll do whatever I want. And I got 2 clients now, so that's pretty cool. And they'll be doing exactly what I want, and I'm a proud business owner, you know, and that makes me feel very cool. Thanks. So here's your little summary thing. You're familiar with Burp Suite. Some of you might be, that you might get the references, but it's just a packet capture on adjusted header. Yeah, today I went from, you know, 3 years ago I was in a prison cell. Now I have over 800 and some days of sobriety. You know, I have genuine relationships. I have friends. I have a job. I'm my own boss. I have certifications. I have dignity. I have a family in InfoSec. You know, I have a family in the tech community, ECPI, in the community. It's like I was telling Matthew, I ran in on the way here when I bought this energy drink. I ran into some guy that I saw at a conference, you know, who works for Veritas, and shook my hand. You know, it's cool, and that's what it's really about. You know, is challenging yourself, overcoming those challenges, and inspiring the next person to try and do the same or better than you did. And I hope that I can share some of that strength with you. Now I'm leaving the Oxford house. I'm proud to say that my wife and I are moving into a place, actually, oddly enough, with my mentor now. So we got our own house. and I'm doing the thing, right? And you can too. And if you have any questions on how I did it and I can help you, I will gladly do so, because I wouldn't be where I am if people didn't help me. And if I don't know how to do it, I'll send you to Chris, and he'll send you to Google. But in all seriousness, you know, thanks for letting me talk. I do have, in that spirit of paying it forward, I do have some gifts I would like to offer.
Before you do that,
And if you'd like to ask me any questions, please.
before you do that, a couple of things that you brought up that I wanted to highlight. We still have. Oh, cool. We're still on. Okay. So, a couple of things that I wanted to highlight was, so when Chris tells you, okay, install this operating system, which you've never heard before, and you said, okay, yeah, I can do that, because you've done things, and you install it, and you get into the process, how quickly did you want to quit? I mean, really?
Instantaneously. What? There's no GUI? What are you talking about, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I wanted to quit once I realized that it was going to be really good.
So he didn't give you anything, so you had to do it on your own. So now you're like, now you're in it, and you're like, now I've got a choice.
Yeah.
I can either,
I'm not giving up.
I can either do this or not do this, and when I don't do this, then that sets that path, right?
Yep.
But if I persevere, that sets me on a different course.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's it.
So the reason why I bring that up is because, particularly in InfoSec, there's oftentimes, in any job, but particularly in InfoSec, you run into situations where you're going to have to just, there is no right answer. There's never a right answer. There's maybe a more correct answer. There's never a right answer per se. And so you're going to have to just negotiate that properly. But and the other thing that I wanted to bring up was the fact that, so you had to find a mentor. And so what made you think about the fact that you had to find a mentor? What made you say, you know, I probably should try to seek out some additional assistance here?
People told me to, honestly. I knew that there were people that wanted to help, that wanted to share that knowledge with me, right? And I knew I couldn't do it alone, and I wanted somebody to kind of hold me accountable and challenge me and guide me by their experience and tell me what not to do or what not to do or what to do. And I was treading, this was uncharted territory for me, you know. I didn't know the difference between, you know, WPA and a hole in the wall, right? And I knew there were people that did. And I needed somebody outside of that old world that I came from to be my friend and to offer me guidance and pick me up when I needed it, right?
Right. And how beneficial has that been to you?
It's been phenomenal. It's, you know, I've got a friend, a best friend now. I've got a roommate. I've got, you know, somebody I can ask questions to. It treats me like an equal now after proving my worth. You know, and yeah, I like to think it's been a two-way. I think I've enriched his life a lot too. The Hallmark card part of it all.
I just wanted to highlight those two aspects. It's important that you find the mentor as well. And Chris has already taken, can't have him, but Ken would probably make a great mentor. Somebody really wanted to try to understand how to make that happen. So with that, I'll let you finish your presentation.
Yeah, no worries. Basically, I got a couple gifts here that I'd like to give away. The first gift I'm going to give to somebody who's new that might be wanting to travel down the hacker path. And if you ask me a question, Mike, your prop. Anybody have a question? Then I'll keep the prop. It's a good book. Anybody want to?
What is Burp Suite?
What is Burp Suite? Burp Suite is a web proxy that allows you to capture web traffic and manipulate it and or analyze the traffic, and it helps. It's a very cool tool. Yeah, there you go. And is anybody, my other gift was for anybody that has a Hack the Box, has figured out the Hack the Box challenge and would like a free month of VIP. If you ask me a good question, I will give you that as well. And the VIP Hack the Box will allow you to unlock the entire retired machines as well. And
Much of that month yet? I don't have time for that.
yeah.
Because I was looking at my wife won't see me for a month.
Yep.
I better not take that.
Yeah, right. Mike, Dr. Horster?
Hacking Club president.
Yeah, the hacking club. I forgot about that.
Am I too old to change jobs?
You're never too old to change jobs. You win a prize, sir. Yeah.
What is day in the life of a pen tester look like? How much of it is the fun part of going through networks? How much of it is travel and paperwork and meetings?
Yeah, right. You can wear a hoodie. That part's true. A lot of it is research, 100% reading, enumeration, analyzation, and report writing, because people are paying you serious money to get a deliverable that's worth a crap, right? So you need to know how to write clearly, communicate effectively, outline the network's problems, your remediation solutions.
From Roanoke has a question.
Okay.
What kind of consulting will you be doing for your company?
I will be offering vulnerability assessment, network penetration, both remote and external. We offer just IT general help if you need it. And if we can't do it, I'll find somebody that can. I'll be doing a network pen test for a pretty big corporation here. I'm starting it this month, and pretty excited about that. And so I'm trying to fit that niche market between the companies that need something done, but can't necessarily afford the big guys, but have to do it for compliance or whatnot, and that want a more hands-on granular thing with somebody that cares and will deliver them that good report and save them some money in the process. And, yeah.
You said that you knew that you were interested in the InfoSec field,
Mm-hmm.
but what led you want to do that?
Good question, man. Honestly, what led me to do that? The question was, what made me attracted to the InfoSec genre of IT? Honestly, to be like a hacker and a pen tester, I figure you got to think differently, right? You have to look at problems a little differently. And I felt that my life experiences of dipping and dodging the police and or going to prison, all that stuff frames your personality a little bit in the way you look at the world, right? When I walk into rooms, I naturally look at the surroundings and, notice all the details of where cameras are and, and stuff like that. And how people, get over on each other and cons and, all of that social engineering and manipulation that goes on outside of technology, right? I was privy to all that and was pretty good at it at one point. And I wanted to use that unique perspective that I had from a criminal background and criminal thought process for good, because what better way, the whole point is to emulate a threat, right? And if I already think that way, then I know how they think. So it was a good way to scratch that thing in the back of my head that kind of wanted to do the wrong things, that little voice that wanted to be mischievous and whatnot, but do it for good and use these new skills. And it was constantly changing, constantly learning new things, being excited about cool things were cool to me. My wife could care less about it, but if you're into security, you're into security, and it's definitely a lifestyle as well as everything else. And I just identified with the whole hacker community, in college I did have a KDX server, and we may or may not have had movies for sale before they came out in the theaters, we'll say. And, I was always in that kind of get over mentality. And as I was changing everything else in my life, I wanted to use that unique perspective for good. Yeah.
Ken, what's the day like in the life of a network administrator? We keep talking about basically making your own network.
At the Goodwill, at the Oxford House, or just in general?
In general.
Well, I'm not a network administrator.
So you talk about making your own network kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was going with that.
Well, that's kind of, there's a lot of parallels as well, because usually the network isn't going to work how you want it to, and you got to hack it up a little bit sometimes to make it work sometimes. But it's also paying attention to details and overcoming adversity in that respect too. Networking is not my favorite thing. I really don't like Packet Tracer. I really don't like Cisco routers that much. My professors in the back are shaking their heads. However, I'll be honest, I'd much rather be on the programming software side of that whole scenario. But I'm not really equipped to answer your question. Anything else? Well, I thank you for letting me talk, and I hope I inspired somebody. And you did realize that if you want to do something bad enough, you can. And I'm a testament to that anything can be overcome if you equip yourself and put the right drive in the right places. Thanks.